everyone, hope you're all having a solid day today. For this review, I tackle a B movie that may be iconic, but it's still a B movie. Okay, so you know how there's some movies that bomb horribly in theaters, but then get more notoriety on every other format afterwards? The Thing from 1982 is one such movie, as well as the movie I'm tackling for this review, Tremors. Now, before I even talk about the movie itself, why does every internet search say this movie came out in 1990? I mean, it clearly says in the end credits that it came out in 1989, so does anyone check this? Anyways, for those who've not seen this, the plot centers around Val and Earl, played by Kevin Bacon, who didn't even want to be in this movie at all, and Fred Ward, who live and work as handymen in the small desert town of Perfection, Nevada. It's really cool to see a monster movie take place in my home state. One day, when they decide one damn day too late to leave and find better work in the neighboring town of Bixby, strange things start to happen around the valley the town's in. One dude's found on an electrical tower dead from dehydration. Another dude gets sucked under the ground along with his entire flock of sheep getting shredded. The town's doctor and his wife, along with their station wagon, get sucked under the ground along with two construction workers, which results in the only road in and out of the valley getting blocked by large rocks. As the attacks go along through the first 31 minutes of this movie, we get glimpses of these small, half snake, half slug looking creatures, but then come to find out they're part of an even, sorry, I almost screwed up my words there. They're part of an even bigger monster called a graboid, but more on that thing later. The characters in this setting work really well together. Having a small town with just regular average people makes them more relatable, in my opinion. Aside from Val and Earl, there's two other characters that really stand out. And those are Bert and Heather Gummer, played by Michael Gross and Reba McEntire, of all people. You know, having singers play in creature films is something that doesn't happen all too often, but Reba's role in this is, as odd as it is really fun to watch. I mean, she plays this role really good. The Gummers are basically the military of Perfection Valley, and I'll talk about why that is in a little bit. Lastly, like almost every other creature movie, there's always a scientist character in here. And for Tremors, you have Rhonda LeBeck, played by Finn Carter, who she doesn't do the whole not mad scientist, not whole like, oh, scientist with a book that's won a Nobel Prize or whatever. No, she's mainly just a college student in this movie who just is very knowledgeable about seismology. So her being very just normal, average, everyday college student, again, fits with the relatability that goes with the rest of the human characters in this. But of course, the standout thing of this movie is, of course, the graboids. I'll always love the designs of these things, with the head that's just one giant beak, with the bottom jaw splitting into three parts, making it wider. And seeing how they hunt through the course of this movie is pretty terrifying to think about. They go after something after hearing the slightest vibrations on the ground, and along with how quickly they get smarter, these things are really a force to reckon with. And also on top of that, they move really quick, which is something very interesting. When you look at a graboid, it looks like a giant worm. It's not a worm. It ain't. It may look like a worm, but it's not. Seen if you've seen Tremors, because it is part of an entire movie franchise, but will I cover the rest of this? I will, but for those of you who have seen this franchise, know that they're not worms. But for those who haven't, I will get to that at some point. But anyways, the way they move quickly under the ground is they have these spikes on their sides, and they all move in unison to push them under the dirt. Throughout the course of this movie, we see four graboids, which is pretty terrifying to think about. And they all die in some really seriously fun and really cool ways. But it's like the first one slams itself into a slab of concrete and kills itself after chasing Val and Earl for a little bit. The second one dies with the Gummers shooting the absolute shit out of it in their basement with an entire wall of firearms, which is, in my opinion, the best part of this movie. The third one gets blown up towards the end by, again, with the Gummers, with a homemade bomb, And the fourth one falls off a cliff and just splatters everywhere when it hits the ground. And the special effects in this movie are done by Alec Gillies and Tom Woodruff Jr., who need no introductions whatsoever. I mean, if you've watched a lot of 80s and 90s creature films, they're the reason why that the monsters look and their executions look pretty damn solid. But the best pieces of effects work, besides the graboids themselves, are when they die. Because when they die, there are guts splattering everywhere, and there's blood everywhere, and there's slime coming out of their mouth. I mean, these monsters, for a movie that takes place in the deserts of Nevada, these monsters are pretty disgusting. I mean, I'm always going to be more of a fan of CGI, but the fact that this movie uses all practical effects and it works really, really well, I can definitely appreciate the use of practical effects in a creature movie. Now, I don't want nobody going in the comments all saying, "Oh, you're a practical effects hater." I'm not a practical effects hater. I just love CGI more because you have a lot more freedom with CGI. But I do appreciate the use of practical effects in a creature movie. Tremors is definitely one of those movies that the practical effects work very well. But if I have one gripe with this movie, it is the creatures themselves. Maybe three very small shots in this movie total where the thing with the graboids is when they open their big ass mouth, I do mean a big ass mouth, there's these three oral tentacles that come out that are separate creatures themselves, and they grab somebody and they pull them into their mouth, and that's how they eat you. Well, the oral tentacles, there's a couple of shots where they move a little too much like a puppet. I know they're puppets. It's obvious they're giant ass puppets, but there's for like 99% of this movie, you forget they're puppets and you think, "Oh my god, these are real animals." But there's like I was saying, there's three shots where the oral tentacles, the way they move, just it kind of takes you out of it for a few seconds, and it's like you're sitting there thinking, "Oh yeah, that's a little puppet." But besides that, this movie gets a solid 5 out of 5. For those who have not watched this movie, go watch it because this movie kicks ass. It is such a good, no, not good. It's a great monster movie to watch. And I know there's a lot of stuff that I didn't cover in this review here about the movie. There's a lot of good stuff with the characters, a lot of good behind the scenes stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't cover, but I didn't want this review to drag. So for those who have not seen this movie, go seek it out and watch it for yourselves. Alright, thank you all for watching my third review on this channel. Please be sure to like, share, and please consider subscribing. It really helps because it shows me that you guys are starting to like this new channel, and it gives me more motivation to keep making content here. Oh, and also, I forgot to mention this in the review, but if any of you guys get a chance, or any of you guys are fans of country music and want to listen to a really solid country song, I'm not going to play it in this video because, I don't want to get copyrighted, but look up the song "Why Not Tonight" by Reba McEntire. It's a really great song. I listen to it a lot. It's really easy to find here on YouTube, but it plays in the end credits of Tremors, and I'm pretty sure, I believe that's how they got Reba McEntire in the movie. It's like, "Oh, I'll do the movie if you play one or two of my songs," but hey, it works. So, and it's still a good song to listen to. Like if it's a song you listen to like if you're taking a drive somewhere, if you're just driving or whichever. But anyways, yeah, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. So stay cheesy, everybody.